Hello, everyone. This is the Free American Press with your host, Alexander Horat. Today, we're going to be having the president of Miles Franklin on the show, Andy Schectman. But before we get into it, if you could please subscribe to the show and leave a like on the video, that would be really appreciated. Hello, Andy. Thank you for being on the show.
Alex, how you doing, buddy? Happy Labor Day.
Good. How are you?
I can't complain. Thanks. Everyone's got to love a 4-day weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice. So I was going to ask you a little bit about gold and silver. We see that it's starting to go back up after it went down by quite a bit. So could you give us your weekly perspective on gold and silver?
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, Alex, the old saying, see the forest, not the trees. I don't see the trees. I see a big picture. I see the forest. I don't look at the rustling leaves. I will say, in terms of its action, look, you got the employment numbers came back abysmal the other day, and that's a really big deal. I don't know. Let me see if I can real quick. I think I jotted it down. The numbers were, bear with me 1 second. They expected 720,000. They got 235,000. That's a huge, huge shortfall. And what's significant about that is that the Fed said that they would not stop their asset purchases, their mortgage-backed securities and their government treasuries, the quantitative easing, monetization of assets, inflation. They won't stop that until we see better numbers in employment. Now, I don't believe that to be true because a few years ago, 2019, I want to say, unemployment was down to a 50-year low, and they dropped interest rates 3 times and continued to buy mortgage-backed securities and treasuries. So look, I would simply say to you that it's more of the same thing here. It's from a macro perspective, Alex, things are happening that, quite frankly, I'm shocked gold and silver are as inexpensive as they are. You have Russia signing that joint military cooperation agreement, as we talked about last week, with Saudi Arabia and Nigeria. You have China and Russia now agreeing on a unilateral deal for Russia to fuel China's military jets with jet fuel, all their jets with jet fuel. I mean, we're moving away from the dollar in settlement for energy. And what makes the dollar strong is the petrodollar. And what that means is that ultimately the dollar falls and gold and silver really accentuate themselves. And this is why I think the biggest money in the world has been accumulating in hand over fist for the last several years, because the writing's on the wall. So yes, it's performed well over the last several days. Yes, it's come back up. And yes, it should be way higher than it is, both gold and silver, if it weren't for the manipulation. But why has it been manipulated? So the biggest money in the world can corner the physical market. They've been holding it down with levered futures contracts, while at the same time taking huge possession of it off of COMEX and the London Metals Exchange, all these things that we've talked about. So one of these days, Alex, it's going to run and keep running, because we're all accustomed to it running and then coming right back. And it grows. It's very easy to accept the recency bias or the belief that, hey, once we see it run, we'll jump in. But one of these days, based upon not only the fundamentals, what's going on, Alex, but the positioning by the biggest money in the world. The biggest money in the world is gobbling it up, whether people want to believe it or not. I see it. And one of these days we wake up and it just keeps going, because the big money has now accumulated it and positioned it in it. Is this the run? Don't know. It's got a lot of hurdles to get through from a technical aspect, even though in my heart I believe in a rigged market technical analysis is flawed. But I will simply say to you that demand is really insane. And over the last few weeks, since the smashdown a few weeks ago, Monday, we're seeing record volume on new purchases, people who've never bought metal before, purchasing 6 and 7 figures. If demand was indicative of price would be way higher. And I think this is just a gift, Alex. I truly do. The fact that you can get it at these levels.
Yeah, I agree. So I also wanted to get a little into this article that I thought was pretty interesting. I wanted to see your thoughts on it. So it was talking that they think there's going to be a great computer chip shortage in 2021. So I was looking into this, and we also see how Taiwan is one of the biggest makers of computer chips in the world. And it sounds like the United States moved a lot of its troops from Afghanistan to Taiwan. And it seems like there could be a war in the region of Taiwan pretty soon, and that could affect the global chip supply. So I want to get your thoughts on this. How would a global chip shortage affect the United States and the world?
First of all, if the United States thinks that they're going to go into the South China Sea and defend Taiwan against the Chinese army, they're out of their damn mind. And China is maybe doesn't have some of the technology the U.S. does, while at the same time they have hypersonic ICBMs. And let's hope that, God forbid, that the world doesn't come to this. But there's a difference between protect or going after Muammar Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein or Afghanistan. It's a whole nother thing to start messing with the Chinese. There's no coincidence that right after Afghanistan, the debacle in Afghanistan, that China came out and said any military ships, any ships at all in the East or China or South China Sea must register those ships with the Chinese government. They're more or less laying claim to these waters, which is another way of saying, don't screw with us. Taiwan is ours and we're going to go after it. And I think China will not back down on Taiwan. And I think they know that the US really is in a compromised position. And quite frankly, if I were Taiwan, I wouldn't feel so safe looking at the way we cut and ran in Afghanistan and left a lot of our allies high and dry. I just think whether you're talking about the Russians signing a deal with Saudi Arabia and Nigeria, or the Chinese kind of flexing their muscle over Taiwan, these are whole different things. And when you're talking military superpowers and an alliance in the BRICS nations, you cannot mess with these two countries. If you do, God help us all, Alex. And I don't mean to be sensationalizing this, but look, yeah, there's a chip shortage in Taiwan. Some people think it has to do with the silver. I have a friend who owns a car dealership here in Florida. Normally they have 300 cars, they have 35 on the lot. Why? Because none of them can get chips to run the cars, which are basically computers these days. It's the real deal. But more pressing than that, we went from one war where we spent $145 million a day for 21 years to another war that could get really, 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 really bad, really, really quick if we think we're going to start messing with China. I think we're a long way from firing rockets and that kind of stuff. But the point of it is that this is something that destroys empires, where you continue to extend yourselves and meddle in other affairs. And quite frankly, I'd like to see us get the hell out of all of these tussles, get out of meddling in other countries' affairs and just come home. Think of what 145 million a day for 21 years would have done to our infrastructure, schools and roads and bridges. And I think it's just disgusting that we continue to screw in other people's affairs. If there aren't any microchips available, so be it. This is what the law of supply and demand is. This is what economics is all about. The lack of chips and the military involvement in Taiwan are two different things altogether. But somewhat the same. Look, we're going to experience hyperstagflation, is my opinion. You have employment numbers that are again getting worse. You have more money and fewer people producing stuff. So you have more money chasing less stuff. This is an inflationary environment where they're going to continue to subsidize, and they're going to continue to buy bonds. They're going to continue to monetize, while at the same time you have little or no economic growth because people are unemployed. And quite frankly, in this environment, I think it's very difficult for companies to hang on. I look for stagflation and maybe hyperstagflation, and this is just another confirmation to me that that is the road that we are heading down.
Do you think this is just part of our leader's plan? Because I know during World War II, before that, we were in a Great Depression. The economy was doing really bad, and then we went into World War II, got the war machine moving, and basically the economy rebounded. Do you think this is just part of their plan to make the economy rejuvenate it in a war, or what is your
It was
thought?
very different back then when we were the epicenter of manufacturing. And so it created, not only did you have infrastructure projects happening, but you also have the ability to manufacture stuff that you needed for the war effort. No, I don't think so. This is about the military industrial complex continuing to get richer and richer and richer and richer, while at the same time throwing us into more and more wars, continually fighting wars around the globe. And we should get the hell out of these wars. They don't mean anything to us. And yes, it's an industrialized and it's a globalized world. But we are not the world's policemen. We should not be. And it's one thing to go and get involved in World War II when there's genocide going on, when you have a country going, from country to country to country and killing people and stealing everything. And that's one thing. It's another thing to go and mess with these types of conflicts that have nothing to do with us. And look, the world's a scary place, but it's not our job to go and fix everything. And it will lead to our downfall. And when you start messing with countries like China and or Russia, as an example, a lot of people will say the reason we attacked Libya was because Gaddafi said he wanted to take oil in euro. Same thing with Saddam Hussein, they knew there were no weapons of mass destruction. It had all to do with oil. And so what are we going to do if Russia has partnered with Saudi Arabia in military cooperation and OPEC, all these OPEC nations, and Nigeria is another big OPEC nation. They say, you know what, we're going to take oil in euro, yuan, ruble, and yen. What are we going to do? And I think the fact that we're positioned in the South China Sea is nothing more than saber rattling. If they were stupid enough to fire a rocket at China or one of their ships or what have you, God help us. Honestly, God help us. We're dealing with a whole different enemy when they have the ability to destroy the United States military, to the United States homeland with missiles and rockets and a huge army, and it's just a whole different thing. And let's just hope we don't go down that path.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I did want to ask you your opinion, though. Do you think we're going to go to war with China and Russia, or do you think this is all just smoke and mirrors?
I would like to hope, God willing, that this is smoke and mirrors. No, I don't. But I think if we aggravate them enough, what I think that they're going to do anyway is dump the dollar. China doesn't want to do this quite yet. They have a lot of our assets, over 3 trillion. But I do believe they will back their digital yuan with gold, and it's over. If you get all of a sudden the world divesting of the dollar as the petrodollar, world reserve status, and you get the new Chinese digital yuan pegged to gold, and the new Belt Road Initiative connecting 70% of global economies, 45% of GDP before industrialization, the handwriting is on the wall. They're all moving away from the dollar, and everything is moving to the BRICS nations in terms of the gold, in terms of the deals that are being struck, in terms of the infrastructure that's being created. These are, in my opinion, the last days of the dying empire. And I hate to say that. I'm a patriot. I love the United States. I see the flag behind you there. I mean, it means a lot to me. But you can see what's happening. And quite frankly, if people were honest with themselves based upon the political environment we have right now, I can understand why people are moving away from the dollar, because the dollar is a faith trust-based backed currency right now. And as a result of that, we have lost, I believe, trust, not only with our allies, but even the people that are somewhat agnostic to the U.S. We've just lost trust that we are who we say we are, and we're continuing to meddle in affairs and fight wars and mismanage the currency and be less than honorable. I think it's the beginning of the end for the US dollar, Alex, as the global reserve currency. I truly, truly do.
Yeah, I think the United States definitely needs to go back to more of its founding principles to become a better nation. But yeah,
No question about that. The best people I ever talked to in my career were the people from World War II. They were amazing people, and we're losing them by the day. There aren't many left. And they would tell you something, and their word was their bond. You didn't think twice about it. It was just a whole different time back then. And I would love to see us go back to those types of roots where it was about integrity and honesty and hard work. And you could have a discussion between blue and red without hating each other. And the divisiveness and the lack of respect globally, or here in the United States, rather, nationally, is it's appalling, and it's tearing apart the fiber that unites this country, which just makes it that much easier to break apart and to envision these types of problems happening.
yeah, unfortunately, I think the leaders of the United States use this division to their advantage to control the people. But
No question about it.
I wanted to ask you, Andy, do you have a special on gold or silver this week?
Yeah, we do. We have the 2021 silver Krugerrand for $3.65 over, Alex, and we'll continue to offer all of the specials that we've presented on your show for as long as we possibly can. You know, as I mentioned last week, I am a big gold bug, and I think ultimately this is where we want to be. I want to, at some point, issue gold specials, but silver is just too darn good of a value right now, Alex. So we're going to stick with silver. Please send me an email at Andy@MilesFranklin. Mention the Free American Press. I will promise your listeners the best price in America on that.
Oh, that sounds great. And if anybody wants to buy gold or silver, please write Andy through his email and mention the Free American Press. Is there anything else you'd like to add in this video, Andy?
No, Alex, I think, we're covering the important topics, but I just want people to realize that what's happening right now between Russia and Saudi Arabia and Nigeria and China and Russia, these agreements, these joint unilateral agreements in oil, in military, these are some of the biggest things I believe that will shape the future of this country. Put it in context with the Chinese Belt Road Initiative, with all of the reclassification of gold with tier 1 and all of the accumulation of gold and silver, you can see what the biggest money in the world is doing. They're exiting stage left, and that's the old misdirection. It's the no-look pass. They're making everyone move one way while they're moving the other way. And gold is wealth, and silver is wealth. Alex, it's not an investment. And I would love the ability to continue to chat with you and hopefully talk to the people who are listening to you and earn their trust as well. Because before this is all said and done, if you save exclusively in dollars by the movements of this big money, you're destined to go broke. So you stay well, buddy, and we will chat soon. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. And just as one added point too, is that they use the dollar to keep you in debt. When you have gold and silver, it keeps you out of debt. So I think that's also really important.
There's another way of saying that, and that is that assets feed you and liabilities eat you. That's exactly right.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank you for being on the show, Andy, and I look forward to talking to you next Friday.
Actually, while we're here, let's mention I am traveling next week, next Sunday. Can we do next Sunday, please? I'll be home late Saturday night. If we can do next Sunday, that would be fantastic. And I'm sure there'll be a lot to talk about anyway. If not Sunday, Monday, whatever day works better for you, or maybe even Saturday night. Let's just say Saturday night or Sunday or Monday, whatever works best for you.
Oh yeah, that works great, Andy. And I'd like to thank all the viewers for watching this video, and God bless.
God bless.